In a speech from the Oval Office last night, President Biden called U.S. aid to Israel and Ukraine vital for America's national security.
I know we have our divisions at home. We have to get past them. We can't let petty, partisan, angry politics get in the way of our responsibilities as a great nation. We cannot and will not let terrorists like Hamas and tyrants like Putin win. I refuse to let that happen. In moments like these, we have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. The United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together.
Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman joining us now with more. And Rick, we heard from President Biden last night, that rare address that we get from the Oval Office. What were your top takeaways from what you heard?
Well, it wasn't as soaring as the couple of speeches he has given on Israel specifically, including one last week and then one when he was in Israel this week. But I don't think that was the real purpose. This was actually more about Ukraine than it was about Israel, I think. And what Biden is trying to do here is he's trying to link Israel, which has got everybody's attention, and Ukraine, which does not have everybody's attention so much. So we're getting some war fatigue on Ukraine. It's been going on for almost 20 months. And Biden wants a lot of additional money for Ukraine. So this comes right ahead of what is going to be a big ask to Congress. He is going to ask for somewhere in the ballpark of $100 billion in additional funding for basically three national security priorities: for Ukraine, for Israel, and for Asia, including Taiwan. And about 60% of that is going to be for Ukraine, not for Israel. So he's asking for a lot more money for Ukraine than he's asking for Israel. And he did one thing last night he hasn't really done before, which is in a primetime address, making the case for why it is worth spending U.S. taxpayer money in Israel. He said, if you don't stop Putin in Ukraine, if you don't stop Putin in Ukraine, he's just going to go into Eastern Europe, and those are NATO countries, and then we're going to have to put Americans on the ground. So basically, if we just give Ukraine money, we're keeping Russia at bay without putting Americans on the ground. I thought that was an okay case. I think he could have made a stronger case. But that's what it is. And so now this legislation is going to go to the Hill. We know that there's obviously this giant problem with the Republican Party in disarray in the House. So it's probably going to get some action in the Senate first, and then we'll see what happens in the House.
Rick, the Biden administration also announced earlier this week that it would ease sanctions on oil and gas in Venezuela. What do we know there?
This went below the radar. There's a lot going on in the world, and this did not get very much attention. But since I follow energy markets, that really caught my eye. There's a lot going on with regard to Venezuela. The thing that I'm paying attention to is energy markets. This is one way I think the Biden administration is trying to draw a little bit of additional oil onto the market. So for 6 months, Biden's going to ease these sanctions on Venezuela that have been in place for several years, which means Venezuela might be able to put more oil onto the market, including some oil that might come to the United States. Now, we're not talking about a ton of oil here, but look, the Biden administration knows it is in a bind on inflation and on gasoline prices, and it is trying a bunch of different things to just bring a little bit of additional oil onto the market here and there. Venezuela is one of the targets, and I read this as the Biden administration really is paying attention to gasoline prices and trying to do every little thing it can to assure gasoline prices stay under control in the election year of 2024.